After Allah Azza wa Jall's name Al-Khaliq, we have two names that are very similar, Al-Bari and Al-Musawwir. Why are they similar to Al-Khaliq? Because they talk about Allah's ability to create. We talked about how Allah's ability to create is something so singular and so unique that He uses it as evidence in the Quran. He gives it to us as a sort of criteria, how to ascertain which sort of claimants to divinity are true claimants to divinity, which is only Allah, because He's the only one that creates, and which ones are false, so false gods. How do you tell a false god? First question, does it create? If the answer is yes, then boom, that's your God. That's Allah. And if the answer is no, then by definition, it can't possibly be God. It can't be worthy of worship. And so Al-Khaliq draws our attention to the general sort of phenomenon of Allah's creating. And Al-Bari and Al-Musawwir kind of draw our attention to two more subtler subpoints of Allah's creation. First, Al-Bari has to do with the fact that Allah brings something unprecedented out of nothing. So whereas in some very, very loose sense of the word, we can say that people create a work of art or create something, we don't really mean bring it into existence out of nothing. We mean taking ingredients that already exist and manipulating them, doing something to them, sort of configuring them until they make something else. Okay, that's what it means when a human being makes something or creates something. But when it comes to Al-Bari, that's something that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do, to bring something forth from nothing, something that literally its component parts did not exist before. That's something that is exclusively in the realm of activity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second, Al-Musawwir, has to do with the perfection of His creation, right? Because He doesn't just create and just let it go, right? Or He doesn't create something in an unsuitable way. He creates something, and in its creation, it is shaped and formed exactly to serve the purpose that it's meant for. Okay, if you look at the human body, we have so many signs and demonstrations of this quality and characteristic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? What are we made for? We have these hands, right, with the opposable thumbs and all these sorts of things. We're able to manipulate things and do things with our hands in a very, very sort of fine-tuned way. We're not very strong. We're not very fast. When you look at the other animals, we're not very violent or vicious. We don't have big fangs. We don't have, claws or these sorts of things. But we do have what we need for what we were created for. We have our brains, we have our hearts, we have our hands, and we have sort of our community, our ability to link up. So if you look at every single creature is shaped and given what it needs. There's nothing unnecessary. There's nothing gratuitous. And it's funny because material scientists, when materialism was kind of getting going, they would say, well, look, there's all these sorts of human body parts that serve no purpose, right? And as time has gone on, actually, we've discovered the purpose to them, right? So one by one, we're starting to realize that, oh yeah, actually there is a purpose to everything, whether we know it or not, right? We believe as Muslims, as people of faith, we believe it paradigmatically that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and everything in us has a purpose, right? And some people that are just strict empiricists, they have to go through the trial and error and wait until they see it for themselves. But we know already, because we know that the one that created us is wise and creates with purpose and shapes and forms things in according to what they were meant to do and the purpose they were meant to serve. And that is Allah's name, Al-Musawwir.